I will tell you.
All right. Hey guys, Congresswoman Kat Kamak here. It is about 5 after 7. And let me tell you, this has been a day of epic failures across the board. We're here in the office. I got my good friend, affectionately known as my ride or die in Congress, Representative Byron from obviously the great state of Florida,
Right.
representing Naples. And we wanted to talk to you about what happened today. Because today was a cluster. We all know that. But what you guys probably don't realize is that we reconciliation, and we were voting on the John Lewis Voting Rights Bill, which strips states of all kinds of their constitutional rights to oversee elections. But we're going to break it down for you guys. We're going to be taking your questions. So Donald and I, we have been the most conservative member in the state of Florida.
We really haven't been going back and forth about this. Everybody knows it's me. So I have to tell my colleague all the time, you know, I've been at this voting thing for about 5 years now, so she's got to catch up. It is what it is.
I mean, anyways, we could go back and forth on this. But anyway, so I figured we would just tell all of our folks back home, really break down the reconciliation process, because so many people don't really understand what reconciliation is and how it ties into the budget. And when you think about this $3.5 trillion that was voted on today, it's very complicated, it's very wonky, it's in the weeds, has nothing to do with infrastructure. So when you hear people talk about this $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill, we didn't vote on that today.
Not at all.
That is 100% separate from reconciliation, right?
Completely separate from reconciliation. Except in the mind of the squad, that is.
That's right.
In the mind of the squad, it's all the same.
It's just all together. It's all in there. But one of the things that I want to talk about that, again, I get a ton of calls. I'm sure you guys get a ton of calls.
Yeah.
So one of the things that people are confused about is what is the difference between a budget and the reconciliation, and how does that work? So we're going to break it down. So reconciliation is really a procedural way that Congress, or a particular party, in this case the majority, can move a budget resolution, which, keep in mind, a budget resolution is not law, it is not bound by law. It doesn't get signed by the president. It is not binding. It is more of a blueprint. Hence why we have called this the Biden bankruptcy blueprint. Because $3.5 trillion is going to cost us, what, over 10 years?
Roughly $68 trillion of money we don't have.
What does $68 trillion actually do? I mean, what would $68 trillion mean to your district?
Oh man, we would fix all of the water projects in Southwest Florida. I could probably build massive hotels that sit on the top of extended heightened roadways that would look nice over an extended. I mean, it's obscene. It's ridiculous. There's no possible way we could spend $68 trillion.
I was gonna say, we literally could not spend $68 trillion. And the kicker is that this isn't even paid for. This is new money. And even though they're going to say, oh, this is paid for, no, it is not paid for. So this $3.5 trillion, this budget resolution, and I'm going to say, Franklin, come here, bud. Oh, Franklin's in the house. You show Franklin.
Like you.
Come here, buddy. So this is Franklin. Y'all have seen Madison in here. You've seen Franklin. We got our pups that run around the office. They keep the office low-key and stress-free, but it's awesome. Yeah, he's had a very exciting day of playing with all of the visitors in the house. I think he's scared of the camera. But anyways, so reconciliation, and pretty much how it works is it's just a mechanism, a procedure that they attach the budget resolution, and you don't need to have a super majority. It's a simple majority, and it's how they actually move it through. And they basically take this blueprint, send instructions to the committees, and say, even though you already have your appropriations process that you're working through, here's how much more money you've got to figure out how to spend.
Yep.
No BS, guys. This is literally what they said. This $3.5 trillion is on top of the infrastructure and on top of normal appropriations, the 12 appropriations that we go through every year. This is crazy. So then, in a month from now, they are going to bring us back.
That's right.
After going through a fake committee process where they plus up accounts on all these different things, and then they're going to make us vote on $3.5 trillion that has nothing to do with infrastructure and nothing to do with our normal appropriations process,
No.
and it's bankrupting our country.
Yes.
But everybody has their little favorite pet projects in this. What are some of your favorite things? And by favorite, I mean the things that you detest the most.
Well, in the proposal, it's really Bernie Sanders' proposal, but in the proposal, you have about $1.8 trillion in new taxes, which is the floor. The way they wrote it is that the floor will be $1.8 trillion. They can always raise taxes over that if Ways and Means creates the rules in their portion of this to raise taxes. So that's the one I detest overall. The second most is that this budget framework, it would add essentially 17 trillion in new debt to the United States. Now, think back in the time when Barack Obama became president, our national debt was around $13.5 trillion. In 10 years, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Bernie Sanders, they want to add 17 trillion in debt. Now, here's the one thing when government estimates. Because when these guys estimate, they're always wrong. They're always sandbagging.
Always.
They sandbag all the time. I would probably say you're looking at new debt numbers under this anywhere from 19 to 20 trillion. Because one, they don't know how to help themselves. Two, they don't know how to budget it, obviously. And three, there's going to be some unforeseen thing, hello foreign policy, who knows, that we might have to extend the United States into. Doing this is completely outrageous, makes no sense. It's irresponsible, but we didn't even vote on it.
We didn't even.
Do you want to say it?
Okay. This is. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm on Cat TV. Cat, go ahead. Take it.
All right. So here's the crazy part. So Byron just talked about how we didn't even vote on it. Like, it didn't go through committee where it goes through a normal vetting process. Get this, guys. It literally was attached as a deeming resolution to the rule. So literally a procedural motion that we go through on a regular basis that determines how a bill will come to the floor. That's what the rule is. How a bill will come to the floor. They attach, those sneaky buggers, attached a deeming resolution to the rule. And that is how it passed. No debate, no committee, no markup, no nothing. $3.5 trillion like that. Which really is 68 trillion when you think about it, right?
Because it goes into the baseline.
So, okay, and yeah, look, this is a killer. What is our debt at right now, Byron?
We are
almost
roughly
30?
28 trillion.
Okay.
Change.
All right. So, for those of you guys who don't know, Byron actually has a finance background. Pretty smart guy. I mean,
hey, very smart guy.
But
I digress.
He is an FSU grad. I have to say that. So.
You always have to make sure you put out that disclaimer so people understand how brilliant I actually am. I went to the Florida State University, yes.
Anyway, since we're repping the Florida Gators in this here office, because we do represent the Gator Nation, we are allowing a Seminole to visit very briefly. But, 17 trillion on top of the debt that we currently have. Talk about the deficit spending in there, though.
So, you could make an argument that we're going to easily deficit spend anywhere from 1.2 to 1.7 per year. That's kind of what we're going to get to in deficit spending a year. You might have a year or two in there because, again, there's unforeseen things that we don't know are going to happen. It could be $2 trillion in a year. Now, mind you, this last year, we've deficit spending about $3.5 trillion this last year because of COVID. I think that number's short. I think it's more than that.
I think it's more than that, actually, because we had 3 packages and the fourth was American Rescue, right?
Right.
Okay.
So we're well over that now. And so you're going to now do this over the next decade. Because the one thing people don't understand is that this spending apparatus, this goes on top of what we already do. Kat mentioned it earlier. And once that gets into the baseline, then when you budget, the new baseline numbers now set the floor for how you either A, budget, or B, do a budget resolution, or do a continuing resolution. I know we're in the weeds right now. But that sets the floor for where you go to negotiate. So we take back the House, which we're going to do.
Absolutely. And
we come in and say, you know what? We're getting rid of all of this mess because this is garbage. And it's garbage. They didn't even want to vote for it, so we're getting rid of it. The Democrats are going to be running around Capitol Hill saying, we're cutting spending. We're cutting families. We're cutting this. We're cutting that. They are trying to pass the most obscene spending increases in the history of the nation. We've never done this. And if you try to pull it back to be responsible, they're going to say you're cutting off people.
But in reality, this is the thing that people don't realize. So Social Security will be insolvent by 2024.
Yes.
That is the current projection.
That's right.
Social Security, a contract with the federal government, entered into with Americans, that's going to be broke in 3 years.
3 years.
Okay? You add this to it, they will make it insolvent, and I don't even want to guess how much quicker it's going to be. They're actually working projections right now. But to give you just a point of reference, we are literally floating right now because we've gone past the debt ceiling suspension deadline, which was August 1st. They, at this point in time, can't even borrow against Social Security anymore because they have raped and pillaged it so bad that they are now floating daily government expenditures off of government employees' retirement accounts. So postal workers, members of Congress, staff, anyone who is a federal employee, the government funds in their retirement accounts are being used to float daily expenditures under the G fund until we get to about mid-September, about a month from now, when we will have to vote again on the debt ceiling, which is kind of crazy because when you think about it, how do you have a budget and pass a budget without the debt ceiling vote?
You would do that. Well, here's how you do it.
Okay.
You do it if you're president, if you're vice president, if you're Senate Majority Leader, and if you're Speaker of the House, have never had a job in the real world in their lives.
100%.
Because if they've never had a job, they never lived in the real world, they understand the economics of everyday Americans, then you can come in here and play with government numbers and actually, frankly, steal money from federal retirees. And to the federal retirees who typically vote Democrat, they're taking your money and they're going to try to backfill it while you don't know to handle their spending because they can't get the votes in their own party. They can keep their own party together to get the votes for this stuff.
I don't think people realize how broken the Democrat Party truly is.
Oh yeah, it's bad.
I mean, last night we were here until midnight because they couldn't get the votes. I mean, they literally could not get the votes. And they went back and forth and back and forth. And this was the pickle that Nancy Pelosi was in, okay? So she's in a catch-22. So you have the squad, the ultra-liberal left, and they say, we want to have a vote on the $3.5 trillion plan, right? That's their thing. The moderates, they were like, I want to have a vote on the bipartisan infrastructure package, right? Nancy says, we'll do both, but we're going to do the $3.5 trillion first. And Democrats were like, or the moderates were like, no, we're not going to do that. Okay, so she was caught in a pickle because both sides were threatening to revolt. Now, just to give you an idea, we have been in recess, and by recess, Byron and I have been back home in our districts, working our tails off, taking meetings with constituents, with groups, doing town halls, teletown halls, the whole 9 yards. We get called back up here to vote. They've had 3 weeks to work all this out, and they don't have the vote. So it comes down to midnight, right? Actually, it was like 12:15 this morning.
Yeah, it was about 12:15.
We get a notice that we don't have our crap together, so we're not going to vote until we can actually work this out tomorrow. So everyone goes home. Now, Nancy being in the catch-22, which I was a little bit tickled about because the longer... Oh, it was great.
It was great.
I mean, the less time that they have on the House floor to destroy our country, the better, right? Thank God that the Democrats can't plan their way out of a brown paper bag, much less run the House. So if they were actually truly effective, they would be lethal. That's where I feel comfort in that they have some serious divisions in their own conference. So it's a real thing. Now all this is happening, right? So today we voted on that. Byron and I stood out there in the blazing heat. We were the only group of conservatives up here talking about this. Let me just repeat that. We're the only group of conservatives, about 40 of us today, standing outside at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in front of the press corps talking about this issue. No one else was talking about this. Everybody's talking about Afghanistan, which of course we have been working day and night to get our Americans home. In our district alone, 187 of our people were trying to get back home. Total disaster. Do you think that there is maybe something bigger at play here when we have an utter total failure of leadership, Americans left behind in Afghanistan, and they want us to vote on a $3.5 trillion package? Can't think of a better time than to distract Americans with what's happening overseas than to, this is the time to do it. This is the time to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to me about the John Lewis voting bill, though. That is pure garbage.
So the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, what it does, it focuses on this thing called preclearance. Now, preclearance is something when the Civil Rights of the Federal Voting Rights Act of '65 passed. What it did is it actually talked about how if you were in a county or in a state that had that basically discriminated against black people from voting, and it was epic discrimination, let's be very clear. That there were a set of rules that any rules you changed had to get approved by the Department of Justice before you could change the rule in your elections back home in your area. So we've had Preclearance, which was part of the original Voting Rights Act for a very, very long time. Every reauthorization reauthorized Preclearance. This went to the Supreme Court a few years ago. And a few years ago, the Supreme Court looked specifically at Preclearance and said, wait a minute, there are no signs of voter discrimination in any of these counties and states that are quote unquote Preclearance. So the Supreme Court looks at it and says, well, why are we keeping this in place where you have counties, and by the way, I live in a Preclearance county, Collier County is Preclearance County, where Collier County would have to send any rule changes to the Department of Justice to get them approved before they can implement them. But a county like Lee County, which is the other county I represent, doesn't have to do that. So what you have is you have an unequal balance between local counties and states on how they're going to administer the laws that govern their communities and their areas when it comes to election. The Supreme Court gets rid of Preclearance because they say today there's no data to support that Preclearance is even needed, so they strike Preclearance. Since that point in time, the Democrats have been moving heaven and earth to bring back Preclearance. The way they did that today in H.R. 4, the John Lewis, God rest his soul, Voting Rights Act, is to basically expand Preclearance across the entire country. So now there's no differential between Preclearance County under Jim Crow versus a county that just did the right thing in that era of America's history. Now, they just want to expand it across the entire country. Insane. Doesn't make any sense.
Well, and also, because I wanted to make sure, and there's literally so much stuff that goes on here that we are given memos from judiciary, from all the committees of jurisdiction to make sure that we cover this. One of the things that stuck out to me is that it literally gives the Biden administration the authority to veto states' ID laws.
Yep, very true.
So it can come in, and since we're both Florida representatives and we have voter ID requirements in the state of Florida, the Biden administration can come in and say, no, sorry, DeSantis, we're going to strip you of your right to implement voter ID laws to both register people to vote as well as to actually vote. Now, we know that he has a beef with DeSantis. We know that the Biden administration is all over Florida, using it as an example across the board for how he is somehow managing or asserting his authority. So
come on, man. I mean, it's Joe. He's always right.
That was like 4 or 5 days ago.
You know the thing. He's always right.
Now, I know we probably have a ton of questions.
We had a really important question about Social Security from someone watching when you guys said that it was going to be insolvent after 2024. Can you maybe go into that a little more? Because we had some folks who were maybe concerned about that.
Yeah, absolutely. The Financial Services future chairman right here.
I will tell you, here's the issue with Social Security. The problem is that the level of receipts for the program, meaning people who are being taxed because they get it out of their payroll, that's slowly not being able to match the amount of proceeds that go out. So Social Security is quickly coming to this point where the amount of money coming in is less than the amount of money now going out. That creates insolvency. Now, under law, there are triggers in the Social Security Act that will cause benefit reductions to occur. They're automatic because they're in the law. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to come to that. The way Congress typically operates, they're just going to blow through those and ignore whatever the necessary cuts are going to be. And that's actually going to cause Social Security to then further balloon our debt along with Medicare, so on and so forth. Because Medicare is 1 year behind. Medicare is 2025 behind. Folks. It's 1 year behind. It's coming too.
And literally, if I had a Sharpie, which I don't, so I apologize, we would draw this out. You know what? We should do this. We should do a mandatory. All right, one of these days, and actually, I just read some of the comments that you guys were talking about. This is something that both Byron and I are really passionate about. And when you think about our overall federal government spending, about 68% of it is mandatory spending. That's your Social Security, your Medicare, your Medicaid. That is on autopilot. We don't touch that.
Can't touch it.
It's literally like MC Hammer. Like, you can't, I won't do it.
No, don't do that.
I won't do that. That would be embarrassing.
Shout out to MC Hammer. No,
I won't do that because I would make him look bad.
Anyway, so... But this is the issue we're having.
Exactly. And so we should do, and you know what, we should do that. When we come back in September, we will do a video and break down mandatory spending for you guys, because I think it's so important that people don't realize that we don't actually deal with mandatory spending. We just deal with the discretionary, because we really, for a long time, and by we I mean Congress, and we just got here, so we're the newbies, but it's going to be our job to make those tough decisions that need to be made. And I know you guys were putting a lot of comments in there. People love this, by the way.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they like it.
Thank you.
They do. They like that. But no, I think we could do a rapid fire.
Go.
You want to do a rapid fire?
What do
All right, we're going to do this.
what
So
do
check this out. I'm going to take it out of this thing, and then we're going to scroll through.
Oh.
Yeah.
Your turn? Okay.
Yeah. All right, so check this out.
We're completely unhinged now. We're all over.
We are completely unhinged.
shouldn't have
I
said
would
that
say
in the
I would say you
video.
should stand, but okay, hold
If
on.
I stand, then it's just gonna see the top of her head.
All right, come sit on the couch with me because this is too much.
Okay.
I'm short. He's like 6'2". I'm 5'3". All right,
You want to take it with Bernie, like right there next to you? Look, there you go.
look at Bernie.
You should have had the other one with him in his mittens. That's the picture you need to have of Bernie. Okay, here we go.
All right, so check this out, guys. There's hundreds of questions in here, just so you know.
Hundreds.
All right,
Hi, everybody.
say hey to Byron, guys.
Hi.
All right, so I'm going to try to just pick a random spot to start because there are literally hundreds in here. All right, so Teresa, watched your video with all you guys, and you all have common sense, and this bill is senseless.
Thank you.
Thank you, and yes, it is senseless. Impeach Biden. Man, I tell you, both Byron and I have said that the resignations need to happen. They absolutely do. Here's something I want to just put this nugget out there for everybody to think about. And you and I talked about this a little bit earlier today. We were in a classified briefing with SecDef Austin, with Secretary Blinken, with Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas, with
Director of National Intelligence.
yep,
And
General Milley.
And Milley. Milley was there.
So we were on a classified briefing today with them, and it's a mess, guys. It's a mess. And we were talking about the whole impeachment, resignation situation. Every single one of those people up there, they need to resign. Every single person that was in that classified briefing, they need to resign. Heads need to roll. Our priority has been getting Americans out. Think about what comes after Biden, though.
The first thing is that, you know, we're going to be in such a defeated place from a national security perspective that you could have a president who might have to be in a more aggressive posture because we got to rebuild credibility along in the world. Now, the Taliban are going to open up that theater to Al Qaeda. ISIS is already on the ground. Even the president acknowledged it, that there are credible threats against U.S. troops by ISIS-K. That's happening right now on the ground as we speak. I thought ISIS was gone. Actually, you know, Trump defeated ISIS, and it took Biden 7 months for them to reconstitute and come back. We're in a real bad spot overseas, and there are going to be Americans who are trapped overseas. They're going to be trapped in Afghanistan because the way the president's starting to move troops out, they'll be gone in 3 to maybe 4 days tops. And there will be Americans who are trapped in Afghanistan who cannot get out.
It's a really, really bad situation, guys. So I know everybody's talking for impeachment right now. They're talking about resignations. We need to focus on getting Republicans and Democrats united in getting everyone home. That's first and foremost what's got to happen. Heads will roll. And I'm telling you, every single person that was in that classified briefing with us today, we are going to be sure to be holding them accountable.
Real quick, one point on this.
No.
It's important for people to
Here, I'm going to flip this around on you.
Oh, hi. It's important for people to understand that there was bipartisan support for extending this August 31st deadline, which is so arbitrary.
Yeah.
But you have Republicans and Democrats, like, I've never seen some Democrats talk this firmly, saying he needs to extend the deadline.
It was incredible.
We need to tell him to extend the deadline so we can get all our people out. It appears it's fallen completely on deaf ears, or deaf ears and no brain, because I don't know what Joe Biden's doing.
Well, I can tell you right now, I would definitely take Weekend at Bernie's over a President Harris situation. I am telling you guys, to echo Byron's point about both Republicans and Democrats being united in this, never heard Democrats talk the way they did today. There is bipartisan support overwhelmingly to extend the August 31 deadline. Right. And there was a big concern from the Democrats about how is President Biden getting the information. Huge concern.
Yes, big concern about
and that was very interesting to hear that from the other side.
Somebody's got to have a brain in that party. This thing's an abject disaster. And if you look at the intel, if you hear as much as the Democrats love to talk about the intelligence community under Donald Trump, they've ignored the intelligence community. And they've actually been right on this.
Yeah.
And Department of State has been wrong. I don't want to speak specifically to the military because they're just literally like, well, we're getting this from state and we're getting this from intelligence. Mr. President, you're the commander in chief. Tell us what to do, and they got to go execute it. And so you have a real disaster where the people who were the smartest people in the room, they got all the experience, completely ignored CIA on this. When CIA has been on the ground, highly embedded in all of this, going back 20 years.
And we could dig into this whole over the horizon type situation that everyone wants to talk about. That's for another video. Damn, we're going to have to do another video just on that. But okay, but I do want to get to y'all's questions because I did promise
This is better than a press conference coming from the White House.
You know what?
You know what?
Well, it's because we did one.
Somebody should send this to Saki. Show her how it's done. I'll show you how to do this, son. Shout to Jay-Z. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
All right, Kathy wants to know, what about if the interest rate goes up?
So if interest rates go up, what's going to happen is a couple of things. Number one, our borrowing costs are going to skyrocket. It's going to balloon that 17 trillion we were talking about. That's what happens when you actually increase. When interest rates go up. The second thing it's going to do, obviously, it's going to make it harder for Americans to borrow. If Americans makes it harder for them to borrow, what ends up happening is borrowing costs increase, which actually takes away your disposable income because more money goes to interest. If more money is going to interest, this actually is the number one issue with all of Biden's spending. In my view, it destroys purchasing power. Nobody talks about purchasing power, but purchasing power is the length at which your dollars can go to buy the stuff that you want. If prices are going up and interest rates are going up, that means you have less purchasing power to go buy the things that you want to continue your lifestyle, whatever that may be. No matter who you are, rich, middle income, poor, retired, it doesn't matter. When your purchasing power is diminished, it doesn't matter how much more you got in wages because your dollars don't go as far. And this is what the Democrats don't want to talk about. They say people need to get a living wage. Well, okay, you know what? Wages are up because employers have had to pay people more to get back to work because they were being paid to sit at home. So people have gone back to work and are getting more money. They're going to the gas pump to get to work and they're having to pay more money just to get to work, but they're getting more money, which means they've not gone anywhere.
Yeah, they're just staying literally the same.
Or getting worse.
Yeah, it's getting worse. And the thing that was mentioned today, and I think it's relevant for this, so in Florida, gas prices are up 74%.
Yes.
Across the state of Florida, gas prices are up 74%. Used cars are 54%. I talked to a couple of our local dealers around the area, and they literally can't keep any inventory on the lot.
No.
I mean, they're going like this. And people, right now, if I were to go and sell my car back home for what I bought it for a couple years ago, I would actually make money.
Yeah.
I would be carless because I couldn't afford another car because everything is sky high right now. But this is just nuts. Randy said stop HR 1 at all costs. Good news. HR, it's dead in the Senate. What was passed out of the House tonight was HR 4, another voting bill. So it's kind of crazy. We have so many things. So Sheila says,
What's Sheila saying?
Oh, thank you, Sheila. She says
you
she
can listen all day. Sheila, got love for you. Thank you. Appreciate.
She was really talking about me.
No, she wasn't. You need to quit that.
All right. I know. Let me see. Inside. They like hearing the inside info.
Well, you know why they like hearing it?
Because no one else is talking about it?
Nobody. Listen, I've watched every Saki
Nobody
briefing.
is talking
I've watched
about this.
every state briefing. We were in the classified one today. And I'm sitting there like, these guys are not talking. These are all the same political talking points. We're working with our allies and our partners to make sure that we have stability in the region. And we hope that the Taliban will decide to be part of the community of nations. Like, what the hell is this, all this stuff even? These are just empty words that do not matter. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, we could go off on Afghanistan. We could go off on all the stuff that has happened. But I think that's really important that you guys hear directly from us because nobody's talking about this. If you turn on the news right now, they're going to talk about Afghanistan. And it's going to be the same thing on loop over and over and over and over and over again. The thing you need to know is that the situation is getting worse. It's not getting better. We still have Americans in country. We as members of Congress are working really hand in glove with NGOs, with State Department, with DOD, with contractors
who have gone back into the theater.
Yeah, like off book stuff. And we are getting our people home. Come hell or high water, we're getting our people home. But while that is happening, $3.5 trillion gets spent and not
in the dark of night.
And no one talked about it. I couldn't believe the fact that I turned on the news after that vote happened today and not one TV station was talking about it. Not one.
Rahm Emanuel, never let a crisis go to waste. It allows you an opportunity to do things you thought you could never get accomplished any other way. And that's where we are with this. And it's sad and it's terrible. but unfortunately, that is true. And we're being led down the road. Like, all this stuff is avoidable. Like, it doesn't have to be this way. We're not trapped in a box where, oh, we're stuck. We have to spend this kind of money. Oh, we have to leave Afghanistan. We could literally tell the Taliban now. We can say, hey, you know, on second thought, no, we're staying. What you gonna do?
We literally had this conversation in the briefing. Byron and I are sitting there thinking, who's driving this train?
I don't know.
When did we start taking orders from the Taliban?
Yeah.
Because that's what this president is doing. Biden is literally saying, well, we're going to negotiate with them, and we're going to play by their rules. They are now dictating to us what's going to happen. That's not right. And again, I mean, people are talking a lot about impeachment and resignations and the process. Folks, we have never been able to remove a sitting president, have we?
No.
Not ever.
No.
And we don't have the votes. We literally don't have the votes.
Yeah.
So the thing that we have to do now as conservatives is, one, get the information out to you guys. So you have the right information, the credible information to go out and hold other members accountable.
They need to be held accountable for this.
Because the power comes from the people. So we vote every day on behalf of our constituents. And the thing that I will tell you, and you're going to steal this line, I know he steals all my lines.
That is not true. I got all the material. Let me just tell you, ladies, all the material.
No. So
let me hear the line. Go ahead. I'm gonna sit back.
All right. So here's what I tell people. So right now there are people from all over the country listening to us talk about this situation. So while we may not necessarily be your representative, and while you may not necessarily be able to vote for us, we vote for you every single day. Just today, we stood up and we voted. Your representative may have voted a different way, but we voted on behalf of freedom-loving Americans who are constitutionalists, who want to have a better future for their kids than what they had, and that's what we did today. So that's important, that even though your member of Congress may have voted a different way, there are people out there fighting for what you believe in. Because if you're watching this, most likely you believe in the things that we believe in. That was a good line,
Is that
wasn't
the
it?
line? That was the line? That was it? That was
See,
pretty good.
he's
That was pretty good.
It wasn't.
I'm not gonna take it though.
You can take it. You can take it.
No, I'm not gonna do that. I don't plagiarize. That's Joe Biden.
Okay.
Did I say that out loud?
Oh,
I did.
bless.
Oops.
So
Anyway.
people are really excited. They said that they love the information. There's people from Illinois, from Texas.
Texas.
There's people from Maryland. Oh, Carolyn Smith. Well, I'm glad you're my constituent, Miss Carolyn Smith.
Carolyn, that is so nice. Thanks for that comment. That really helps us. Them comments help.
Well, and I'm so sorry, guys. There are so many questions in here. And I'm trying to get in here. Hey, Byron, you are great along with our cat. Thank you. Impeach all of them. Hey, Eddie. Eddie Masters-Wilson. Isn't there anything that we can do to get rid of Biden? Do you want to take... I know we've been circling around it a little bit.
So here's the issue. Let's take the ways you get rid of a president. Number one, the 25th Amendment. The cabinet's not going to do it. It's highly unlikely that they would invoke the 25th Amendment. The second way is impeachment and conviction. Guys, today they deemed that $3.5 trillion could be spent without actually taking a vote on it. And
True.
Republicans couldn't stop it because we didn't have the votes. If we can't stop something that egregious, how can we move impeachment? I mean, just from a factual matter. Now, I understand a political matter and a messaging matter, but I'm talking about from a factual matter. So
And a procedural.
It's very difficult knowing that you have a president that has failed on every front in 7 short months. And the most you can do at this point is raise these issues continuously and hope that the American people follow along, follow suit, and express their discontent as well. Now, I think that's already starting to happen.
Yeah.
That's why the president doesn't go out and talk anymore. That's why Pelosi barely goes out and talks.
And
now.
that's why we're taking the House
That's why
back.
we're doing this. We're going to take back the House, and then you go through that process.
Yes.
But it's very, very difficult to remove a president.
It is.
Incredibly hard.
Exactly. And I will say this, we have a freshman class that is incredible. High energy, here for the right reasons, and it's really, really exciting. And we're coming up on the end. I know we've been at this for quite a while, so I don't want to keep everybody, and Byron and I both have things that we got to get to, but I saw a good question come across here. Marcy, keep fighting for us. It's insane. Will we ever recover from this madness?
Yes.
Yes. I want to say yes. I am the eternal optimist. I don't know if you're an eternal optimist, but I am.
I am. Look, the reality is that if you take a look at our politics, let's go back 10 years in our politics. what we have had from a political perspective, you know, is the entertainment value to a degree of politics. Whether you want to talk about Obama, you want to talk about President Trump, and if you want to talk about how the media just basically elevated Joe Biden into being like the smartest person that nobody ever thought possible. I think that where we're trending to now is that people of all stripes, all parties, are really starting to look at this. I get text messages from friends and family members from that are not conservatives. And they're like, what is this? Can we get rid of this guy? So I definitely believe that the future is much brighter. And I would also say you have, like you were talking about our freshman class. Yeah. You have a whole crop of young Republicans, new Republicans that are coming into the space. Yeah. That I think resonate across the spectrum of our country in ways that are going to make it brighter and better. Truly believe that.
I agree. I agree 100%. And I will say this, that I know that it looks like dark days are here to stay. And I know it's hard to go about your everyday business when you turn on the TV and it's just garbage, like a scorched earth. Everything is bad. But the thing that I keep coming back to is that we are Americans. We have come through some of the most incredible setbacks ever. I mean, we're back-to-back World War champs. Come on. We have done the impossible. We are known for our innovation. We are known for our creativity. But the thing that I think sets us apart from anywhere else in the world is the grit that we have ingrained in our DNA. Americans are known for their grit. And so while it seems like it's really bad right now, while it is hard to turn on the news and find anything good, just know that we are out here fighting. There are a lot like us out here fighting. A lot. And no one in Washington, as much as they might want you to think it, no one up here is an army of one. No one does it alone. You need good friends and people who are going to stand with you and make sure that we don't budge when it comes to the non-negotiables. And our Constitution and our kids' future is one of those. So just know that we're here. We're holding the line. And the best thing that you can do to help us is share this type of information because you're not going to get it on the news. So share this video. Make sure you're putting the word out that people are really trying to get the good information out there. Tell you really what the hell is going on up here in Washington. And that is how, when we educate people, we give people the power, we can really start moving the needle and taking our country back.
That's right.
So I just can't thank you guys enough for tuning in. Share. Appreciate this. We are going to do a video on mandatory spending and probably a million other things when we come back in September. But thank you guys. Any final thoughts?
Nah, man. Love y'all. Thanks for watching. God bless America. All right.
All right.
Let's go.
See y'all.